Thank you. You guys can have a seat. I want to welcome you guys and thank you for coming to my speech today. Thank you for your attention to what I have to say. The purpose of my speech today is to persuade you on why we should have welfare reform. Now, I'm not preaching against having welfare. It's a great idea. But I'm here to tell you, I'll give you the facts on why we should reform welfare as it is. Now, welfare exists as a safety net for our citizens, and it gives us the ability to hand money to needy families that can't provide education for their children, and put food on their tables. I'm going to persuade you on this point by giving you three major facts, by hitting three major points. The first one is, I'll speak to the first reform that was made in 1996, signed by Bill Clinton. The second one would be give you why our current reform is not working for us, what the impact on the economy is. And third, I will give you what my proposed welfare reform is in order to perfect it or make it better for us. So let me begin with the first point. In 1996, Bill Clinton and Gingrich signed a welfare reform called the Personal Responsibility and Work Act. Now, before this welfare, we were able to hand money to these families, put food on their table, and maintain them going forward. That is great. The problem with that is that we kept these families in the loop of receiving money, and they were not able to produce or move forward from that. What I mean by that is these families were receiving money, they were comfortably living off the government handing them that money. A lot of them desisted from continuing to find jobs. Some of them found loopholes and ways of maintaining themselves on welfare in order to live off the government. Now, you may say, well, those families weren't able to provide for themselves. Now, what Bill Clinton did in the first reform was, instead of just handing families money, we would hand money to these families to keep them going, but then we assisted companies and gave programs so that when we gave these companies money, we also gave them jobs. So we took the head of household, and we gave them jobs and said, this is how you're going to provide for your family after you're off of welfare. So what was wrong with that? Nothing. It worked great. The only problem is a lot of these families, a lot of the workers from these families were not skilled enough or educated enough to maintain these jobs. So a lot of them received these jobs and shortly after that lost them. Or they would go back into the cycle of losing their jobs or returning to lower paying wages and find themselves right back at welfare. Now, the welfare as we have it, as its current form, is not working for us for that very reason. We don't have enough skilled workers in our lower income families, and they can't get these jobs, such as mechanics, architects, lawyers. A lot of them are desisting back to fast food restaurants, and those are great jobs, but very low paying jobs, and not enough to sustain a household. Therefore, the safety net of welfare is still increasing on the numbers of people that are relying on it. So, our economy cannot move forward by just simply handing families money and not giving them the tools in order to get their own jobs, get their own movement, and sustain their own families. So, our economy suffers as when we give handouts, we do not give the skills. Therefore, generations of children from these same families fall in the same cycles of going back into welfare. In conclusion of my second point, our welfare is working, but it needs tweaks. It needs to be reformed in order to give us a long-term solution instead of the short-term solution we currently have. So on my third point will stand on how I suggest we reform welfare. We need to insist that the people that participate in welfare not only go through drug screenings, but we give them limits on how many times they can go through welfare. We need to keep track of history. If they've been on welfare, has their parents, have their grandparents, have their great-grandparents been through welfare? Because if this is a cycle, we need to identify it and give them the tools to break that. We cannot have generations after generations raised on welfare. It's not healthy for their economy. It's not healthy for their family tree. I will also suggest that we give them education, or in other words, insist that people that are benefactors of welfare go through education programs to give them the skills to be mechanics, architects, whatever you may have that it's a profession. Put them through the medical fields, put them through the law schools, so that we can create workers and give them back into society and make them a productive member of such and not just an entitled member of it. So in conclusion of my speech today, I will tell you that I am not against welfare. I am so for welfare. We need a safety net that catches all of citizens that fall into medical conditions that break them, medical conditions that hurt them till they can't get jobs, unskilled workers that don't have the education or the skills to hold high-paying jobs or even medium-paying jobs, so that we can catch them, educate them, give them back the tools they need, and have them on their way. An old ancient proverb says that you hand a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man how to fish, you have fed him now for a lifetime. So that is the same philosophy that I would like to imply and use in our welfare reform today. This is the part, that's my conclusion of the speech. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to open the floor up for any questions that you may have. Do you guys have any questions about what I've just presented to you?
Yes, sir. Here. My question is, won't this reform cost the country more than money?
Yes, that is a great question. It will cost the country more money. But this is our suggestion. With every new law, there has to be money to back it, and we understand that. One of my suggestions is that a lot of these displaced workers that we have on welfare, we do have skilled workers in that area that we can use in order to cycle through welfare. Now, take companies such as McDonald's, Coca-Cola, GM, General Motors, huge multi-billion-dollar companies. If we give these companies tax breaks in order to come and train these welfare workers and give them wages that are sub what they're used to paying, allow these companies to invest their time and money to train workers to employ, we would give them tax breaks, we would give them incentives to do such. And companies over the last 50 years have been very happy to do things like that whenever the government benefits them.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what if the people that receive welfare don't want to go back to school? What's going to happen to them?
Well, we understand that there will be a lot of workers that, or a lot of welfare benefits beneficiaries that will not want to go back to school. We would like to make this part of the program. So, for the last 30, 40 years that welfare has existed, every worker, every person that has gone through beneficiary has gone through the protocol. So every time we give them something else that they have to do, whether it's they got to give us 6 applications per month, that they're trying to get a job, that they have to fill out forms, that they have to show up in court, that they have to provide proof that they have been disemployed, all of them that have gone through it have been more than willing to go through these programs. So we're not having a problem that we're not going to have a problem that they're not going to want to go back to education. This is going to be part of the law. So you don't go through the education, you are not qualified to receive welfare.
I have another question.
Sure.
Obviously, people can cheat around drug screens. How can we prevent this?
That has been very true. There's a lot of technology out there available for people now, where they can take sedatives to keep their drugs out of their system. With the advances of technology now, there exists hair follicle tests where drugs remain in your hair for up to 2 years. That paired with random drug screens is going to make it virtually impossible to go around those drug screens. Now, what happens when they do find drugs in their system? Well, they'll be immediately dropped from the program, and they'll be moved towards a program that doesn't give them money, but provides them food. That is a program that people hate because they'd rather have the money. But if it comes down to it, we're really trying to keep these families going, put food on the table, and not really provide an income. So that was a great question.
What would it take to make this reform happen?
Well, it's going to take bipartisan cooperation. In 1996, Bill Clinton was able to sign this into law with a Republican Senate. So you're talking about a Democratic president with a Republican Senate. It's going to take a lot of pressure from the people. This is not going to come from the benefactors of welfare, obviously, because this is not something they're going to immediately like. So this is going to take letters to Congress. It's going to be calls to Congress, and it's going to take speeches like this made on a grander scale for this in order to be a reality. Thank you so much, guys, for your questions, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ya preguntaron.